My name is Norberto Garcia, and I am a filmmaker, videographer, content creator. Just been dedicated to being behind the camera and building a career behind the camera for the last 10 years. And this is my wife.
Mabel Marquez or Mabel Marquez. That's my Mexican name. I am a homemaker. I homeschool. I have yeah.
She does a lot at home. She homeschools, she holds down the home, she's cooking for us 2 3 meals a day.
Prepping. It's a lot. I'm a homemaker and I was telling my husband that I actually like that better than than what?
Stay
Stay
at
at home
home.
mom. Yeah. Stay at home mom. Because I'm a homemaker. I build my home up, my children, my household, my husband. I serve them all day long. And to me, it's a pleasure to do that. I think that I don't think I know, I honor God in the process of it all. And I see the worth of staying at home with my kids and raising them, serving them, teaching them, educating them. There's so much value. And you and I come together in that way where my husband brings the finances in and he's so great at everything that he does and he's the leader in our home and I carry the other half of nurturing and educating and whatnot. And I think that when we come together, we're such a great team. So this is why we're here.
100%.
Humbly, this is why we're here.
For sure. We're a great team.
It
So,
feels like iron sharpens iron. That's what it feels like being together. Because
mhm.
I feel like I challenge him in different areas, and you challenge me in other areas. So I feel like we balance each other out. And again, humbly, because we've been in it for so long already. We got married when we were 20 and 21. We had our first son at that age also. So we kind of have lived like a life of viejitos.
We had to grow up quick.
Yeah.
At 21, all that young stuff was out the window, and we were parents.
Yeah.
We were young parents. We were fun parents. We were having fun as we were doing it.
And it was easier
Um,
having one
it was
than
easy
having
having one,
three.
but as soon as we had two, three, it got
Yeah.
real,
Yeah.
and so we've had
And then
to,
homeschooling.
and then homeschooling. So we had to grow up quick, and
Yeah.
we had to, I'm 30 years old. She's 29, and we just had to grow up quick and get it together so that we can be great parents to these kids because they're growing, they're not getting any younger, and this time is flying by. So,
I feel like more than anything, choosing to be intentional. I think that I don't even know when. I think just having Amaziah and I think we started being intentional with knowing like we want to teach him only Spanish. We want to read a lot of books with him. We don't want to have him on a screen. I think that's when we started being intentional unknowingly.
hmm
Where now we are intentional with all three of our boys in these same areas, but we know why. Like we know what's the goal. We try to raise them to be respectful men. We try to raise them to be courageous, to be outspoken, but also to be kind and full of manners. But because we know like what we want them to be like as adults. But obviously when Amazette was like one, we didn't know. I at least I didn't think about that far out. But I believe that it's something that the Lord, just like wisdom, perhaps, or what God had for me as a mother. And I think that as I was a mother to my son, and in that season of my life, I was 20 years old and I was a young mom, I was a young wife. I had no leadership in that area. I was raised by a single mother. So I didn't have a dad growing up. So in a lot of ways it was different for me. I was also like I stopped working, and I was doing school, but it was like one class and it was a lot. But I think that in my time of prayer, the one thing that God always called me to was to serve you, to serve my son. And I think, again, I don't think I know, God has called me to do it in excellency, and that I don't say that in a boastful way. Just like that there's a standard that the Lord like holds me to, I think, and I try to walk in that as best as I could. But I think it goes with like that intention, right?
for
Where
sure.
we were young we were young parents, but for me, I felt like God held me to this standard, and I was like, okay, how am I going to get there? And I started picking up books, parenting books. Once he started tantruming, maybe I was pregnant with Nigel now, and Amaziah started like acting up a little bit. So I think that in those ways, I was challenged as a mother, as a wife. Obviously, we've had our seasons too in marriage. Mainly, I think I've always tried to grow in who I am as a person, and it starts with the Lord. For me, I read my word and I pray, and in these ways I try to work on who I am and areas that the Lord challenges me in personally. So I think all of that flows into who we are as people.
For sure. I think my experience has been as soon as I became a father, 21 years old, my life changed. Everything I was doing before that was as a teenager, as a young adult, I was reckless and I was misguided and I was going down the wrong path and I was doing things, just things that could have got me in trouble with the law, and I wasn't doing it, getting high and whatnot as well. So I just was in a very unstable place. But 21 years old, that flipped for me. I did a complete 180. I had a baby on the way, and I just tapped into this like, I'm gonna be a father, and I have to be a father, and I have to step up and be a father now. But my focus at the time was being a provider and just being able to generate income. And at the time, I had nothing going for myself. And so I felt this fire lit under me that just gave me an insane drive to like try to create a career for myself, because I knew I didn't want to work a 9 to 5 for somebody else. I felt like this was my time to try to pursue a career. I had a camera in my hand already, and I was trying to make income off of that camera. So
Were you still at McDonald's?
when we found out we had a baby on the way, I was working at the
At the
radio
radio
station.
station only by then?
Part-time job, 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. I wasn't getting that many hours, but so yeah.
And then it all changed actually when they wanted to switch your shifts, remember? To the
Yeah, they
evening,
gave me
and
an
you were like, no.
ultimatum. They gave me
Yeah.
an ultimatum. They were like, they knew I was slacking at work, and they basically wanted to switch me to an afternoon shift, and I had to quit. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna do an afternoon shift because I'm trying to do this video thing, and every afternoon I'm busy working on video projects, even if it was for free at the time. At the time, I wasn't getting paid anything, or I was getting paid very, very little.
Yeah.
And I remember I took that jump, that leap of faith, and I was like, I'm not going to work in the afternoon. I'm leaving this job, and I'm going to go try to do this. And, we had a lot of support at the time, and I was able to take that leap.
How'd you get into videography?
Well, I don't want to talk about that right now. We'll talk about that later. But
Okay.
what I wanted to say was, at 21 years old, that father, I felt that pressure of becoming a father.
Yeah.
But my focus was being a provider.
Yeah.
And over the years, I remember early on, I told myself, I have a few years to grind.
Oh, yeah.
Before my son is ever really going to need me. That was my mentality.
Yeah.
I have a few years to grind and hustle and make money before my son is really going to need me. My mentality was like, he won't remember anything before that, and he'll be fine if I'm out hustling 24/7. And that was my mindset. And to be honest, it wasn't until he turned 5 years old where I started to see, like, I had never got out of that grind mode. And next thing I know, he's 5 years old, and I was like, now having conversations with you, and you were telling me, like, he needs you.
And I think we started feeling like, because you started traveling a lot, so we started seeing more of, because my oldest, he's like amazing. Like all my children are really amazing and they all have their own personality, but our oldest, he is really obedient. And that's a one thing where we work on with him, where it's like, don't be a yes man. Like if it's no, it's no. And teaching him to have discernment and wisdom with that. But you started traveling more for work. You
I
were
was traveling
touring.
a lot. Yeah.
You were doing a lot of traveling, and I started noticing like my son that was very sweet become sassy with me, and I could see that. I mean, I remember one time too, Miss Elena, teacher Elena,
Mm-hmm.
she asked me, she said, you know, Amaziah is very sweet, but he's like fighting a little in class. And I'm like, what? Like, he doesn't do that. She said, is there anything going on at home? And I said, no. She said, how's dad? And I said, dad's traveling. And she said, that could be it. So then I started making note of that. And every time dad would travel, my son would get like a little feisty. And I think that's probably when I started reading more. And I picked up a
Yeah.
book called If Jesus Were a Parent. And it's so good. And it talks about the importance of being present
Yeah.
and being intentional
Yeah.
and being a nurturer,
Yeah.
right? Especially from to a son, his father needs to be there. So then we started having those
Yeah.
conversations of
That's probably
you
around
need
the
to be
time. Yeah.
intentional with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's when we started the conversation of like you need to make more time to be with him. You need
Yeah.
to just do a lot more with him because a mom cannot provide. I'm sorry, we're gonna roll up some feathers or however they say, but a mother cannot provide what a father can provide for their sons and for a daughter too, but in our case, like our sons.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We each have our roles to play.
absolutely.
And yeah, I remember that clearly. I remember that started becoming a conversation for us because we started to see like the behavioral changes in our oldest
Yeah.
and the challenges starting to come up. And one could say it was the terrible twos or the terrible threes, whatever, because that's when he was starting to change. But oh no, I mean we were talking about when he was 5.
5, yeah.
Um, but
Because it's still the same thing now. Like when you're
yeah,
gone for too long.
yeah. So we'll get there.
Yeah.
But basically, that's when the conversation started to come up, and we started to realize that we needed to be intentional with our parenting. But I'll be honest, I was knee deep in this grind and this hustle, and I never pumped the brakes right away. I think
Yeah.
that I wanted to pump the brakes, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. But first, let me do this.
Yeah.
And but first, let me do that. And the days, the weeks, the months, the years passed. To be honest, time passed before I really started to be intentional. And I would say it's been as of late, like over the last year, I've been trying to be far more intentional, and I've been being more intentional. And not to say that I never was, because whenever I was home, I was trying to be as intentional as possible. But I was just being a fun dad to my kids. And now that my 3 boys they're all at a stage where I realize I can be the fun dad, and that's a role I have to play too. But they also need a leader. They need somebody
Right.
to set an example. They need somebody to set boundaries. They need somebody to tell them, hey, this is where we draw the line. Let's get it together. And I feel like I'm just like leading a little pack.
Yeah.
That I'm like, yeah, hold on. Stay over here. Stay on this side. No, don't do that. Don't do this. Hold on. Don't fight with each other.
Right.
Hey, this is how you handle this problem. And this is where I'm at now. I'm trying to be I'm being very intentional with trying to be that leader now.
Right.
But it took me a long time to pump those brakes just because I was knee deep in the grind. And I think a lot of men can relate to that. It's not easy to just
Yeah.
stop working because the bills don't stop.
Mm-hmm.
And we just feel that pressure of having to provide. And we also just feel like, we want to show love by like being able to buy our kids things and being able to give our wife and our family the life that they want. And so like that pressure of providing financially never goes away.
Right.
But
I think also men have that burden that,
it's biblical, isn't it?
yeah, for sure, where men are the providers. You are
Yeah.
supposed to be the provider,
Mm-hmm.
and the woman is the nurturer. And just the way, honestly, God set us up, it's that way.
Yeah.
But I do believe, especially in America, there's that you need to provide. Plus, everything is so expensive.
Yeah.
But I think one thing I wanted to say also was, I think we started noticing it more because as we have strong characteristics, strong personalities, our children have strong personalities, and we can go two ways about it, right? Where we've talked about this, we can kind of try to have our kids like controlled, which we're never going to have, or we can help them navigate through their personalities, because I was a strong child. And I'm so grateful for the way that my mom handled me, where she set boundaries and like she would say, de esta línea no te pasas, you know, like you cannot step over this boundary. But she never told me to shut up. She never told me to not speak up. And I'm really grateful for that, for the way that I was raised, because I believe I'm still a woman who, like, I'm not going to do something that I don't want to do. I can't be influenced into it. And so we want to raise our kids that way, especially now, the times we're living in, having boys. We know we want to raise like strong and courageous men. So I think that's just conversations we've had. I think also when you're saying like you feel like you're leading a pack, it's helping them navigate through emotions like anger,
Yeah.
right? All these things.
Yeah. So that's a bit of what this show
Yeah.
is going to consist of.
Yeah.
That's just a taste of what this is all about. Basically, just to reel it back in,
Yeah.
we wanted to let you guys know. First off, introduce ourselves and let you know that we have this show coming, and we intend on creating this content and being consistent with creating this content, and just her and I having conversations. We have these types of conversations all the time.
Yeah.
Like daily, we're having conversations about our kids and how we're trying to be intentional with them and the problems that we're dealing with them. And even in our marriage, we talk about issues in our marriage all the time and how we're trying to solve them. And we're in the thick of it. We're right in the middle of it. We still got young kids that got a long way to go, and they're going to go through many more seasons. We're in a young marriage. I mean, we've been together 13 years, but married.
We're old souls in a young marriage.
Yeah. We're married, 8 years now?
Married?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, 9. We're going to go to 9, yeah, in April.
We're going to be married. Yeah, we're married 8 years, almost 9.
But we've been together for 13 years.
But we've been
going
together
on
for
14.
Yeah, so...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, we still got a long way to go ourselves, so... This path is not by any means perfect, but we just want to start sharing with you guys some of the stuff that we've learned in the past, some of the stuff that we're learning as we go through it. And that's what you guys can expect on this channel. And we'll be sharing some like family content as well. We'll be sharing some family vlogs and things that we do, and just all kinds of things. We have no idea. We got a vision.
Just gonna go as
This is the beginning of it. We just wanted to introduce ourselves and welcome you guys, and hopefully you guys join us and just watch this journey as it unfolds, and hopefully you guys gain some value from this as well.
And I just want to say that this is out of our comfort zone.
This is very much out of our comfort zone.
This is not a show to praise ourselves and by any means. I think that this has been a long time coming for us. Mm-hmm. Again, I think I remember clearly one time I might cry. I'm a crybaby, just FYI. I remember, I don't know if you remember, but I remember like for such a long time, Norby and I would run away from leadership.
Yes.
And back to Miss Elena, Teacher Elena, she told me, it was like teacher parent conference when Amaziah was in preschool. And she told me that he's a leader. And a lot of almost all of the class would follow him. I want to say she said everyone in class followed him because he was really kind and really playful. And she said, if Amaziah chooses not to play a game, he'll literally tell them I don't want to play. And they'll be like, okay, well, what do you want to play, Amaziah? And they would just follow him. And she told me, your son is a leader. And that stuck with me because I think that's when Norby and I made the conscious choice to accept the leadership that's been given to us, because for a long time we would run away from it. I would run away from leadership at church. He would run away from leadership, I think, even in his work area where men would follow him, and he would kind of be like, no, go away because I'm a bad influence, because we grew up being told we were the worst. And so we didn't want to lead anyone in the worst ways, right? So I remember clearly when it was that time we had a conversation, and I said to you, Amaziah is a leader, and the truth is that you and I are leaders, and we need to stop running away from leadership. And when that conversation happened between us, like, I mean, even more like opportunity opened up, for me, leadership within the church. And again, it's something that's uncomfortable for us, but at the same time, I feel like when the Lord gives us things, we have to steward them well. And I think that for us, in some areas, and people are gonna love us, people are gonna be like, you guys don't know what you're talking about, and that's fine. You know what I mean? But I think for us, we're walking in obedience, and that's mainly why we're doing this, because we know what our life looks like. We know the type of people that reach out to us, our friends. We kind of know like what crowd, seeks us, and it's always like the young parents, the young married couples, the young moms, the young dads, and this is what we're here for. Ultimately, it's how do you call it, like just leadership, if you will, to those who want it. And I think I've never wanted to do anything for entertainment. We just want to be able to be here for anyone that needs it, through comments, through conversations, through just even hanging out with our friends that we have hung out with and had coffee with, whatever, and be able to help you navigate through areas that you're struggling in, that we've struggled in, and have come victorious on the other side. And again, we've come out victorious not because we're good people, because it's been really hard, but we've kept God at the center of everything that we do. Even when it got really hard, we kept God at the center of our marriage, at the center of our parenting, at the center of our leadership, even your work, everything that we do, we keep the Lord in the center of it. So even with this, like, God is at the center of it, and this is why we're doing it. We don't want to glorify ourselves by any means, because we are imperfect and there's so much that we have to work on ourselves, but we are kind of, in a sense, like exposing like our chaos and everything. It means that it would help somebody. So
Exactly.
That's why we're here, humbly, to serve you, como dice el pastor, su servidor, su servidora, Mabel Marquez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're on this journey of trying to be intentional parents and trying to have an intentional marriage.
Yeah.
And just trying to do that well. And we're trying to raise great, strong young men. And the best way to do that is by having just leading by example at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And so all we're doing here is in letting you guys into the journey that we've walked already.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you guys are joining us on this journey as we're right in the middle of it. So we're going to be very authentic, and we're going to share our stories, and we're going to share the real. This is we're far from perfect. We're just regular people.
Yeah.
But we hope that you guys get some value, and
absolutely,
we just want to be another voice on the internet who is sharing something positive and
wisdom and knowledge and discernment, and even challenge you, because I think we're challenged every day by our children to be better parents, better people. I think the Lord challenges us daily.
I know she challenges me daily.
And you challenge me daily, but honestly, like, a prayer that I prayed for years and years and years was like, Lord, I want to be excellent in all that I do. Yeah. And I think that those words were very calculated, because I was like, I don't want to be perfect, because I never will be, but I want to be excellent. And that means like with the doors closed, knowing that everything that I do, the Lord sees. And so, sorry, I have a boogie coming out. Do I?
No. Oh. You're good. I see it.
Yeah, so I prayed those words for a long time. Like, I still do. That in all that I do is done in excellence. And I'm so far from it. I don't think that I'll ever get there. But I think that through being intentional and disciplined, we will get there. So yeah, if you guys have any like questions or comments, please ask us, because that's the number one thing I think we want to connect in, right? Like, we're just kind of like, oh, what do we do? Where do we go from here? What do people want to know? And as a homeschooling mom, I know, I mean, as a mother, as a wife, as a friend, I know how I can help some women, and it's different for you, right? But then there's questions in like marriage and parenting, or you want to homeschool and you've been thinking about it. Like, ask us all of that, because then we know how to be intentional about reaching out to you guys and
Yeah.
being able to share our knowledge of what we have learned through the years and the process of life with you guys. So
100%. So comment, let us know if you guys have any topic ideas that you guys want us to discuss. If you guys have any questions you want us to answer about us, about our journey,
yeah,
let us know. And welcome to the channel.
we're so excited. We're so excited to be here. Yep. Is that a wrap?
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.